Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So today was the deadline for the World Juniors roster. So now we know every single player that is heading to Sweden to participate in the tournament. So I thought it'd be a fun idea to give you my top 10 players in this tournament. This is not top 10 prospects. This is heading into the tournament, how good I think these guys are, how good are they playing heading into the tournament in terms of their overall form. The 10 best. First up, I want to give some honorable mentions. I want to give love to Axel Sandin Palika. He's playing fantastic in the SHL. Consta Helenius is the 17-year-old that's eligible in 2024. He's my second overall prospect right now. Can't really quite put him on the list quite yet, but he's fantastic. Wouldn't surprise me if he leads Finland in points in the tournament. Gabe Perreault, fantastic, killing at Boston College. Jimmy Snuggerud, last year was the U.S.'s second leading scorer, having a bit of a down year at Minnesota, but still a fantastic player, almost made it. And then Dalibor Dvorsky also almost made it from Slovakia. He should be Slovakia's best player for this tournament. But without further ado, up first at number 10 is Denton Mateychuk. He obviously has 35 points in 24 games for the Moose Jaw Warriors right now in the WHL. You look at Canada, like last year in particular, they had Korchinski, Brant Clark, Zellweger. Yeah, that was their top three. That is not the case this year. It is going to be heavily relied on Mateychuk to be that number one defenseman. Last year, you basically had three defensemen that I think are going to be one-day future NHL stars. Mateychuk is the one guy on this team, in my opinion, that does have that stardom potential. But I don't even know if he's as good as those guys last year as they were. Still a very good prospect. Obviously, he's putting up like 1.3 points per game in the WHL. That is nothing to sneeze at for a guy that went in 2022, 12th overall. He's going to be the engine of that defense core. He's the number one up guy in the power play. It is going to be essential that he absolutely pops off. And he's honestly not just an all-offense guy. He does have some physicality at only standing 5'11". He will get in the mix. So he needs to really step it up if Canada is going to go on a deep run, because their forward core is loaded as always. But this is a weaker year, especially in the defense. So Mateychuk is going to be relied on pretty heavily. At number 9, Will Smith, the Fresh Prince of USA hockey. He's having a great season right now at Boston College. 8 goals, 15 assists for 23 points in 17 games, which puts him 10th in all of college hockey in terms of points per game. This kid is a wizard with the puck. He is a great puck mover in terms of his skating and also his passing. He really is that well-rounded number one center that you kind of expect from a guy that obviously went 4th overall. He's really put that on display with Boston College this year, with his other line mates at this tournament, and Gabe Perreault and Ryan Leonard, who played together at the U.S. developmental program. They're absolutely killing it at BC right now. I think it's going to translate to the World Juniors. They are going to eat on some of the lower tier teams. It wouldn't surprise me if they had 3-4 point nights, just absolutely feasting. And although he didn't play at the World Juniors last year, he did play at the U18 championships, and he killed it. He had 9 goals and 11 assists for 20 points in 7 games and ended up winning player of the entire tournament. US won gold. So although he doesn't have World Juniors U20 experience, he has proven that he can perform at these kind of tournaments, at the U18 tournament. So I expect to have a very good tournament. At number 8, another American, Rutger McGroarty, my favorite name of all time. He obviously went 14th overall to the Winnipeg Jets last year. He had a very good first year at Michigan. He had 18 goals, 21 assists for 39 points in 39 games, but that was on an absolutely loaded Michigan team with Adam Fantilli and Luke Hughes leading the way, as well as many other NHL first-round picks for the most part. So this year was going to be very interesting for McGroarty coming into the year, as he was kind of looked at as that number one forward on the team, and when he played, he did miss a couple games, and he's not questionable for the tournament. I think he is going to play. He's been practicing full strength, but he did get hurt for a couple games. But getting back to it, he was great for Michigan when he did play in their first 13 games. He ended up having 18 points in 13 games, ahead of guys like Gavin Brindley and Frank Nazar in terms of other high draft picks that are on the team right now. He's the number one guy in Michigan, and I expect him to really step up for the United States this year. Last year, he played all 7 games for the United States, had 7 points. He's going to be relied on as a veteran presence, and I expect him to play pretty big minutes, especially because he is a pretty decent two-way guy compared to just maybe some of the other guys. They're all offense. I expect he's going to have a pretty big role. Up, we got one of the home country kids in Jonathan Lekkerimaki, and he's killing it in the SHL this year, the men's Swedish Hockey League. He has 10 goals, 6 assists, and 24 points, which might not seem that impressive, but again, going up against the SHL, which is probably like the third best league in the entire world, very impressive out of Lekkerimaki this year, especially because last year he wasn't even playing in the SHL. He was playing in basically the SHL's AHL equivalent, kind of like their minor league men's league, and he wasn't producing that high considering that level of play. But this year he really made the step. He is a pure sniper. The reason why he went in the mid-first round, I think either 16th or 17th to the Vancouver Canucks, is because he's a pure goal scorer. He had 20 goals in 25 games in Swedish juniors during his draft year. Like if you want, I guess it's not that much of a sleeper because he's playing for the home country and he's probably the best player on the home country team. But if you want to bet a guy, maybe underdog compared to some of the guys I'm going to talk about later to lead the tournament in goals, it's Jonathan Lekkerimaki. He has an absolute wicked wrist shot, and I'm really excited to see how he plays as the best player on Sweden compared to coming into the season. We thought maybe Leo Carlsson would be playing for Sweden. Obviously not the case. Leo Carlsson is killing it. So this is Lekkerimaki's team in a weird way. Next up, Matthew Savoie. Matthew Savoie, he obviously got some run with the Buffalo Sabres. He played I think he played 1 or 2 games, and he played in their AHL system, putting up 5 points in 6 games. Then he got sent back to the WHL because of all of that. The CHL and the NHL, you can't, if you're under the age of 20, you cannot play fully in the AHL. And he's absolutely killing it in the WHL. Right now he has 11 goals, 13 assists for 24 points in 11 games. So he's scoring a goal per game and like 1.2 assists per game. The kid is absolutely killing it, and he's such a fantastic elite playmaker. Yes, he's only 5'9", but he makes up for that in playmaking ability, shooting. His shot has really grown a ton compared to his draft year. I think he had 35 goals or something in around like 65, 70 games, and he's not going to keep up goal per game at the WHL level. It's not realistic. That's Connor Bedard type shit. But he has come a long way in terms of his goal scoring ability. On top of that, he was already one of the best playmakers in the entire league. And especially last year, he had Zach Benson. The Wenatchee Wild is kind of his team to run with. Him and Connor Geeky's kind of his running mate, and he has fully ran with it, at least in his small sample size. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he plays at the World Juniors when he's playing, again, with elite talent like he had with Zach Benson before. Number 5, Cutter Gauthier. Cutter Gauthier is that physical power forward standing at 6'2". The United States is kind of lacking some size and physicality. Cutter Gauthier is going to have to make up for that, and boy, can he. Obviously, he does play that power forward kind of role, and he has a fantastic shot, one of the best shooter on this United States team, in my opinion. He is going to be that number 1 option on the power play. This season at Boston College, he has 13 goals, 10 assists for 23 points in just 17 games of scoring almost 3 times every 4 games. So when looking at Cutter Gauthier, yes, he is that returning member. Last year, he had 10 points, 4 goals, and 6 assists. He was the 3rd leading scorer on that United States team, only behind Logan Cooley and Jimmy Snuggerud, who, as I speak about before, had like the best chemistry of all time in college hockey as well as the World Juniors. They were fantastic. So Cutter Gauthier is going to be relied on to play a massive role for this team. I think he is the best forward as of right now. Will Smith, Perreault, Ryan Leonard might be better prospects long term, but right now I do think Cutter Gauthier is the offensive force that is going to drive the United States. The defensive offensive force that's going to drive the United States, though, is Lane Hutson. Lane Hutson at number 4. Last year, he had a ridiculous 15 goals, 33 assists for 48 points. He broke Brian Leetch, 2-time Norris winner, Conn Smythe Hall of Fame beast. Brian Leetch's freshman year all-time NCAA scoring record by a freshman. So that's how elite he was last year. And he's picking up exactly where he left off. He has 8 goals, 12 assists, 20 points in just 15 games right now, which is a higher points per game than last year and a higher goals per game. Again, for a defenseman, 8 goals in 20 games. That is absolutely insane. He just does everything offensively at a high level. Yes, there is defensive shortcomings when it comes to Lane Hutson, but the offense, he just oozes with offensive potential. Very good skater, fantastic shot, obviously, can make basically any pass on the ice. He is going to really be leading that United States blue line, although that blue line is loaded with guys like Zeev Buum. Seamus Casey, Ryan Chesley. They have a good defense core, but it definitely starts with a guy like Lane Hutson. He'll be on that number one power play. He'll probably be playing most minutes on the entire team, 23, 24 minutes a night. Lane Hutson is really going to have to step up because last year, I'm not saying he had a bad tournament. Obviously, Luke Hughes was on that team, so he was kind of the number one defenseman. But last World Juniors, he only had 4 points in 7 games, which is a little bit disappointing. But at last year's World Championships, he did have 6 points in 9 games against grown-ass men. So I think he should have a much better World Juniors this year. Into the top 3. Number 3, we're going to a new country. We're going to Czechia with Jiri Kulich. Jiri Kulich is killing it at the AHL level right now. He has 16 goals in 22 games. He does have 22 points. He only has 6 assists. But when you stack on top of that, last year at 18 years old, this kid had 24 goals and 22 assists for 46 points in 62 games. He hasn't really cracked the NHL roster, but he has been one of the best players in the entire AHL as a goddamn teenager. And on that Czechia team, they're going to go as far as he takes them. He's only 5'11", but in my opinion, watching him, he plays like a grown-ass man. He has great poise, great physicality given his size. And when you look at that shot, he can generate a shit ton of power despite not being a Cutter Gauthier 6'2", 6'3". He can absolutely rip it. So when looking at Czechia, they have a decent squad. Obviously, it's behind the top 3. They're probably roughly on the same level of Finland, considering Finland doesn't have Joakim Kamel. But Jiri Kulich is really going to have to carry that Czechia forward core in order for them to go far. At number 2, sticking in the Atlantic Division, Matthew Poitras, obviously a last-second addition by Canada, and a very good addition at that, considering he does have NHL experience. I can see an argument maybe you go with the Savoie or some Kulich or Hutson over him, but when you look at it, Poitras is playing a pretty sizable role, playing 14 minutes a night on pace for like 39 points at the NHL level. This kid isn't going to be oozing with offense at this tournament, but he is probably going to be the best two-way player at this tournament, if that's the way to describe it. I think the guy, by now you know who is at number 1. I think the guy at number 1 has far more offensive potential in terms of this tournament, but Poitras being that probably second-line center, lock down the opposing team's best player while giving the guy at number 1 kind of a break. He is going to be fantastic at that, and I really like that they loaned him out in order to get his confidence up. I think it was the right move by the Boston Bruins. They're going to cruise to the goddamn playoffs. They don't need Poitras playing 4 games in late December, early January. It was the right choice by them, and I think Poitras is going to have a very good tournament. And at number 1, I got Macklin Celebrini. Yes, he is only 17 years old, but he was probably the best player in all of college hockey this season thus far. You look at him, 10 goals, 15 assists for 25 points, which is second in all of college hockey, only behind Massimo Rizzo. Fantastic name. But Massimo Rizzo was a 2019 draft pick. Macklin Celebrini is a 2024 eligible guy. He does everything at a very high level. The shot is fantastic release, very good playmaker, very good in transition. Not quite like a Jack Hughes or something like that, but fantastic. He doesn't do one thing amazing, but he just does everything at a very, very high level, if you get what I mean. And clearly, it worked in college hockey, and I think the World Juniors, he will shut everybody up. Not that everybody's talking about him not being the first overall pick, but if there was any doubts of Demidov and Yzerman, Helenius, he's going to shut everybody up. He's going to have a fantastic tournament. Although I don't think Canada's going to win the tournament, I would go with the United States. He's probably going to be the best player. I could see him racking up 14, 15. He's not going to have a Bedard 23-point tournament, but I do think he will have a very good showing and solidify everybody in thinking that he's the consensus first overall and that he is legitimately a Jack Hughes, Nathan McKinnon kind of prospect in the sense of he is a legit number 1 franchise center. He's not generational. He's not going to win multiple hearts probably, but if you get him, you're going to have a fantastic cornerstone of your franchise in Macklin Celebrini, and I cannot wait to watch him play. But let me know in the comments, what do you think about this top 10? Let me flash it. Celebrini, Poitras, Kulich, Hutson, Gauthier, Savoie, Lekkerimaki, McGroarty, Smith, Mateychuk. Mateychuk? No. Mateychuk. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about it? I'll be seeing you in the next.